Hello, Audioholics. This is Logan, and welcome back to Audioholics Anonymous. Today, we are going to be doing a new album review. This
Yeah.
is going to be Simulacrum's newest album, Genesis. And immediately, I'm going to give this a 0 out of 10 because there is actually not a single Genesis cover on this album.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would have at least wanted a cover of Land of Confusion. Like, I mean, that would
Lana,
have been
no,
perfect.
no, like this is a prog band. They gotta do like,
No, 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 that was the joke. We don't want prog era Genesis.
Okay.
Anyway, so
Like
we're
like not
covering a
even like
band.
selling England by the pound or anything.
No, that album sucks. Fuck that album. No, I'm
Oh,
joking. I'm
oh,
joking.
okay.
Don't kill me. Don't kill me. Um we're coming into this album having knowing nothing about the band. I've never listened to Simulacrum before,
Me
neither has he.
neither.
So this is our first experience with the band. If there's lore behind it that we don't really know, forgive us. The lyrics aren't even on Genius, okay? So
Yeah.
we can't even really talk about. It's clearly a concept album, at least like the
Yeah.
second half, but it's like 2112 or the second half at least is a concept, and but we don't know because we can't read the lyrics.
Yeah, like
So
like even like with the transatlantic video we did, I checked out Sea of Tranquility. Apparently he worked out the concept because it was in the liner notes. Basically, it's a concept album about like all the issues that are plaguing us today, I think.
gotcha. Well, I mean that's a cool concept.
Yeah.
I didn't really get that from the lyrics, but
Yeah.
but yeah. Anyway,
If I would have known that going in, I might have given the songwriting a slightly higher. I don't remember what I gave it, but I might have given it higher marks.
yeah.
Anyway,
So Simulacrum Genesis. Let's start off with the vocals category. I think the vocals were very well done on this album. I really dig the dual singing thing with two singers, and these are some very gripping performances on this record. The variety of the vocals on this record really helped to keep it from feeling stale vocal wise. I will say that although it's done sparingly, I despise the spoken word sections. Um, and it does detract from the album a bit for me. Also, I feel like sometimes the vocals just weren't very memorable. I mean, most of the time they were, but sometimes it was just like, oh, okay, well, you had to have vocals there. Okay. So those are my biggest nitpicks, and that's why I give the vocals section a 9 out of 10.
so I can actually see your point with the spoken word thing. I actually didn't even remember that. So, honestly, if I would have given it a lower score, but I think the vocals are a straight up 10 out of 10. Really strong and diverse vocal range that fits the style of the music. There are two vocals, and I think that's a very wise choice because, like, you have one who has the more gruff sound, and he's kind of better for the heavier moments, and then you have one
Yeah.
who's able to do some of the like higher register choruses, and then like even some of the softer parts because he has a more clean sound. Overall, I think so like even like especially with the clean sound, I compare it a lot to like Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden, and I'm almost positive that is not by accident. Considering what kind of music this is and what kind of influences they no doubt have. So, vocals, 10 out of 10 for me.
Moving on to the instrumentals section. The instrumental aspects of the album are without a doubt the standout for me. Basically, if you take Stradivarius and Dream Theater and you stick them in a blender, you get this album. The instrumentals on this record are very intricate, very technical, taking influence from more modern progressive metal stylings such as Gent, but still maintaining its sort of neoclassical flair that it gets from like Ingve and Stradivarius and bands like that. That said, there are performances that are slightly stronger than others, in my opinion. In particular, the keyboard is a huge standout on this record, and the guitar riffing and soloing throughout is neoclassical gold. Plenty of headbanging moments. You won't be disappointed with that. Also, the bass work really is just a wow. He did the best of the best, man. Like those bass solos in this album rival the classics, like basically in everything.
Basically,
Yeah. big fan of the bass on this album.
basically.
So, yeah, I'm gonna give this section a 9.5 out of 10.
I'm giving it an 8.5 out of 10. So there are a few ways to approach this. So this is a power metal prog album, and I think, and to be fair, I think a lot of power metal is kind of prog by nature. I mean, Iron Maiden, who you could argue almost invented power metal, or at least is the only thing that could not be defined as anything other than power metal, definitely had prog influences. And they would, for better or for worse, continue to explore the more proggy side. Um,
Yeah, but I wouldn't call bands like Rhapsody or Dragon Force or anything like that even close to
yeah,
proggy.
but like if I were to like compare it to something like Iron Maiden, that comparison I think works.
Yeah.
And this is also a power metal album, and seeing how congruent yet utterly separate these styles of music are. If you're a prog guy, I say this about matches your expectations. Now, if you're a power metal guy, this goes way above and beyond. Like you said, the bass and the guitar, or the bass guitar and the keyboards, the guitar and keyboards especially, I think are really the standouts. Um, and there are a lot of unique instruments throughout. There's like the marimba somewhere in one of the songs, uh, changing the musical style often within the song itself. But there are also parts, and the reason I gave it an 8.5 is there are parts to this album, specifically the drumming, which are average. I mean, it's not bad, don't get me wrong, but I can't point to anything that really stands out in certain departments in the instrumental side. And even some of the more unique instrumentation, I love the fact that it's there. And in some cases, they definitely do some interesting things with it, but it can also sometimes get a bit on the generic side. So, instrumentals, 8.5 out of 10.
So, songwriting composition, this is the weakest section for me. The first half of this record is essentially really heavy neoclassical power metal. There's some progressive influences in it, but it's not prog. The second half, however, is straight progressive metal. It's like you get a Stradivarius album in the first half and then a Dream Theater record in the second half. And the shift from one side to the other doesn't feel as jarring as it probably should, but it is still a bit weird. The first half is much stronger than the second half, in my personal opinion. It's not that the second half is bad, it's just that I find the first half to be more memorable, more catchy. There's just more things I like going on in that first half. So for that reason, I give the songwriting an 8 out of 10.
Okay, so as I said before, there's a lot of variety in the musical styles. Again, often within the same song. Lyrics are also very poetic and match the triumphant nature of the album. I would say, apart from the unique instrumentation, the lyrics are the highlight of the record. Um, I'd say the issues I have is that are that one, like you said, it can, I wouldn't say it's disjointed in the same way I would argue 2112 is disjointed, but
Well, I would say it's just as bad, if not worse.
I don't know. I don't think, I mean, you pointing it out as an issue does, I mean, does mean it could be a theoretical issue for the listeners. I did not have that issue. I think it all flowed together pretty well. Because it all kind of, like, here's the thing. The thing with 2112 is it's like you almost got two different albums. I don't have that problem with Genesis. So you had like 2112, which was this huge prog magnum opus, and then you have like four or five pretty standard pop songs on the other side. I don't get that impression with this album. The issue I more so have is that I think one, it can drag. Two, there's some problems with I think it being a little bit overwhelming at times. I mean, you layer like it's like they tried to do everything good at once, and you need some moments, I think, to be able to breathe, especially in a prog album. So, for that reason, I will still give it a higher score than you, but I will give it a 9 out of 10.
So, personal enjoyment. I actually brought this down as we're recording this. It was originally an 8 out of 10, but I'm realizing, like, upon hindsight, that it deserves a 7.5 instead. Because although I really did enjoy this record, the first half really is the part that I like. You know, I'm the prog guy, but I don't really like that second half very much. It's not bad, it's just not as good as the first half by any stretch of the imagination, and kind of borders on sort of generic progressive metal without much to stand out from bands like Dream Theater or Meshuggah and things like that who do their own thing with it. I believe my enjoyment of the record overall is destined to increase as the year goes on, and I could easily see it becoming album of the year material if that happens, but as it stands, 7.5 for me.
So, I gave it a 7.5 as well, which is really the highest possible rating I could give an album that I'm never going to listen to again. Um, I don't think I think it's mainly down to, like I said, the overwhelming nature of the album and like and just me not really being like this is a prog power metal album. Those are like two genres that are kryptonite to me. Not to say there aren't good prog bands and not to say there aren't good power metal bands. Iron Maiden, Dream Theater, which I've started to like more and more. Of course, there's like a ton. That Transatlantic record we did, that is really good. But overall, this isn't really my cup of tea, but objectively, this is a really good album. So, personal preference, I give a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, so moving on to our final scores. With everything averaged out, my score comes out to an 8.5 out of 10, which I think is just about right for this record.
I gave it an 8.8 out of 10, which is slightly above Tyler's, but all around in about the same ballpark. This is a, to me, this is a very impressive power metal album with some prog in it, no matter how you slice it. And I would be doing a disservice to you and myself, you, the viewers, and myself, if I said anything otherwise. Despite this not really being my personal cup of tea, the vocals and instrumental variety alone makes this album an easy sell to anybody interested in power metal or prog metal. I'll be albeit a bit more on the prog side and a little bit on the heavier side. So 8.8 out of 10. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, I think we can wrap it up. So thank you all for watching. What did you think of this Simulacrum album? Tell us in the comments what your favorite song was. And yeah, without further ado, we bid you audio
Audio
do.
do. Bye,
Bye
everyone.
bye.